Hi, you guys, it's Tonya Gibbs, and today I want to share with you a mixed media layout featuring products from Prima Marketing. Today's layout is going to be using the Songbird collection. This is the mosaic paper, and it has tiles on the back side or postage stamps on the back side of this paper. I've already pre-covered it with a heavy-bodied gesso, and now I'm cutting strips of drywall tape to add them over the top of the gesso. I really wanted a lot of texture on this layout, so that's why I'm using the drywall tape, but I wanted it to maintain an organic feel. So once those are in place, I am going to come in with a Crafter's Workshop mini wood grain stencil and some whip spackle from Faber-Castell Design Memory Craft, and I'm going to add this around. This is going to serve as like a tree trunk for my layout. I thought I would play off of the Songbird theme with this. So once I have all of my stenciling in place, I'm going to allow that to dry. And then I'm going to come back with the Lindy Stamp Gang, Lemore Weber Designs Très Chic Cafe à Latte. And I'm going to spritz that onto a piece of packaging and then blot it around. I don't want my layout to look brown because that's a bit cliche-ish with the tree trunk, but I do want to kind of neutralize this white a little, so that's why I'm using this color. Once I have all the brown in place, I'm going to come back with the Lindy Stamp Gang Fuzzy Navel, and this has a really nice peach tone to it. I'm going to spritz that around as well. And this paper collection has a lot of peach tones in it, so I thought that I would play off of that. And since the peach kind of complement the tans, I thought it would be a really good addition. Now I'm coming back with the Jacquard Pearl X pigments. This is pink gold number 643, and it has a really it's a pink color, but it has a really nice gold interference added to it as well. So it's going to have a lot of shimmer, and it's going to add a lot of pizzazz to this layout background. I'm adding water to the Pearl X and then just using a paintbrush to add it to the wood grain of the whip spackled tree trunk. And I'm going to do this throughout the whole tree trunk, but not the entire layout. So as you can see here, it really makes my tree come to life. Now I've taken pieces of paper from the Songbird 6x6 collection and just cut it into strips, random, total random, and I've used my Prima distress tool to distress up the edges of those. Some of these, as I lay them down, I'm adding some chipboard to the back of them. I found that the chipboard actually offers a really great full coverage, but gives it a little dimension. I'm not going to go all the way to the edge with this because I do want to curl those edges up later on. You'll see it in the finished layout. So anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and keep arranging these, and some of them are going to have multiple pieces of chipboard, so they're all sitting at different levels. Then I'm going to come back with my Prima Distress tool and just rub over the top of that and distress it up even more. I'm going with the premise that if this is in a tree, then it's going to be tattered and torn and very shabby. So now I'm just going to use that Prima tool to go around the edges of my layout once more and just tatter those up as well. You can't have all this shabby chic goodness in the center of the layout and have nice crisp edges on the edge of your layout, in my opinion. So I kind of feel like a project's not finished until it's all tattered up, right? So just going around that really fast and adding a little texture there so that whatever mediums I do add, they sort of get picked up by those exposed core pieces of the paper. Now this is the Songbird brand cling stamp set, and this is the long branch that's in the set. I'm using my archival ink to stamp it in, and that's going to give me branches for my tree. Because there's so much texture on this background on the paper, the stamp did not adhere great in some places, like you couldn't see the bird completely to know it was a bird. So I just used my Faber-Castell Design Memory Craft Stampers Big Brush Artist Pen in the black 199 to fill in that bird and make sure that you can really understand that he is a bird. And then I'm coming in with the smaller branch from the same stamp set, and I'm going to fill in around the edges of my tree and really give some great foliage here. By alternating between the two branches, I'm going to have a little bit of interest, and it's also going to give me the ability to uh, get some really nice foliage in this tree. Now I'm not completely finished yet. I'm going to add a few more branches later on, but I did find this bird cage in my collection. This was from the Jody Lee Fairy Bell collection, and it I thought it would look really cool to have these little birds sort of hanging from the tree. So I'm going to add a few of them around. Again, I'm using the archival ink to do this. So I've gone in and I've filled in all of the areas around the tree now, and I'm pretty happy with it. It reaches to the other side of the layout. I'm going to take these Prima flowers. These are from the Kennedy collection, and I'm going to pull those out and just take some gesso. This is the gesso from Faber-Castell Design Memory Craft, and again, it's a fluid gesso. So I'm just going to dry brush that across those flowers, and it's just going to help to tone them down a little bit and also give them a little bit of a prep surface so that when I add my mediums later, they'll be able to soak up those mediums. Now I've decided to come back and add a little bit of gesso to some of the paper blocking as well as some of the tree trunk. Again, it's just to kind of help give some interest and some texture and just help to tone some things down and make them all kind of work together. I just absolutely love these flowers. They're very tattered looking on their own. Now I'm going to grab some of the vintage trinkets. This is the Flower 4 set, and I'm just adding some gesso to the top of those as well. Again, that's going to give them a little bit of tooth so that my mediums will adhere to the metal. I also dry brushed some of that Pearl X pink onto that after the gesso had dried, so all of my metal pieces will have this pink tone to them as well. I really thought in these paper or these flower collections that the brown flower kind of reminded me a little bit of a nest. So I decided to keep it. It's a little harsh in tone, so I just keep applying gesso to it, hoping that I can tone it down. But you know, I like the tonal look of this, and it kind of helps to give a little bit of weight. Now I have a piece of the Prima wheat uh, jute, and I'm just going to, again, keeping it very organic, I'm just going to swirl it around there on the top of my boxes and just add a little spot of hot glue here and there so that it is there, but it still stays very organic. It's going to move as I continue to build out the layout. So this is the photo that I've decided to choose for my layout today, and this is my two nieces, they're sisters, and uh, I just happened to capture that one sweet moment when they're kissing on each other, and I just absolutely love this picture. There's so much love being shared here. So I decided to, since there's so much color going on the layout, to just keep the picture black and white. It would help it to kind of pop against the sea of color that's going on. These are little labels that I cut out of the 6x6 pad. One of the pieces of paper has a bunch of labels on it, so I just sat one night and fussy cut them out. And now I'm just going to kind of add them around. I've also distressed the edges of some of them, and I'm adding a little bit of gesso to them to tone them down. This is one of the Kennedy flowers that I've cut in half, and I'm adding it there at the top, so it looks like it's peekabooing out. The object here is just lots of layers. When you look at a tree, there are just so many multiple depth. There's so much depth in a tree trunk that I wanted to continue that feeling with my embellishment clusters as well as my framing for my photographs. So I'm essentially building a tree house here with this little cluster of elements. So this is another one of those little teeny tiny little tags, and again I'm adding a little chipboard to it. If you have little pieces of scrap chipboard, this is a great way to use them up. It's also a I like the chipboard over the foam squares in some instances because it's a little more solid. So it gives me a really nice solid platform to build on. And here I'm tucking in a piece of chipboard behind that photograph just to so that my photograph doesn't end up buckling under all these other different levels. Now this is the Prima Valentine vine. I really love this vine. I think this is one of my all-time favorite Prima vines. I bought them by the case, I believe, whenever they came out. So I have a lot of them. But I love that they have a lot of different flowers on them, so it's easy to make a very interesting spray with them, and they're very neutral in tone, so I can color them whatever color I choose. I just absolutely love these. They're my go-to vine, and I'm afraid they may have been discontinued, but if they're not, and you can get your hands on them, I highly recommend them. But I do like to cut them apart. I don't like to put the vine on it as it's made, as it's made. I just like to cut all the pieces apart and just tuck them in around. So as you notice, what I was doing there with building out my spray is I started with my bigger flowers first, and now I'm just tucking these elements in and around my floral spray until it's the look that I'm after. And I love that this vine has different types of flowers because you get a really nice contrast as you're moving around the page. And I'm even breaking off the little spirals and keeping them as well. Because, a tree branch has all these little branches coming out from all these different angles, and the spirals just kind of help to add that dimension that I was looking for, and keeping with that organic theme. So now here it is, that brown flower. I'm like, oh, it's just so brown. So I'm brushing over a little bit of gesso with it and adding a little bit of that pink to it. And I'm gonna nest it down in the back because it does offer a great shadow piece there in the background. And I needed one to balance off all of the metal that was going on here, even though I've dry brushed all the metal with the gesso and the um, Pearl X, they still had a darker tone to them. So I think the brown flowers help to balance all of that out. So I've taken the hearts off this vine and I've added it to the top of the flower. There's a lot of little hearts and kisses going on there, and that hugs and kisses going on in that photo. So I thought the hearts added that touch of love there that we needed in the layout. Now, you can't have a tree and a bunch of birdhouses without a nice bird, right? So I'm using these shabby chic birds. These are from the Prima Shabby Chic Treasures. They're the resin birds. They're called Flyaway, and I love this pack because it had so many birds on it. And I've cut one off that looks like he's landing into the tree, and then I have one that looks like he's nestled in the tree. They're both flanking either side of my photo, and both of them are sort of looking at the photo. So that's going to help to draw your eye back to where the photo sits. Once I got my floral spray the way I wanted it, and again, just continue to tuck pieces in until you get the look that you're after. I went deep into my stash and I found these chipboard letters. They're older, but still could make a word out of them, so I'm going to use those. I think they're a good 2 inches, so they're a nice size letter. I'm using my flitter kit from Indigo Blue. This is the glue that comes with the kit, and the spatula comes with the kit and the foam. And what I'm going to do is apply this glue to each one of these letters. Now, I'm not going to show you all of it, but just go ahead and apply it, and then you're going to set it to the side and allow it to dry. It usually doesn't take more than about a couple of minutes to really dry. When the glue dries, it's extremely sticky. So it will hold this foiling in place. This is the foil that came with the kit. It's I'm not sure what the color is, but it's like a silver tone. I think it's called Winter Dawn. And then I'm going to use the little scoochie that comes with the kit and brush off or burnish that foil and brush off any of the excess pieces. I'm going to do this for all of the letters. Then I'm going to take some pitch black alcohol ink from Ranger and just dab that on there. What I'm going for here is a tarnished look, almost like if these letters were tin hanging in my tree, they would have like a really nice tarnished weathered look to them. So I'm just going to use my paintbrush and just dabble some of this alcohol ink on. I don't want a complete coverage. I don't want my letters to be black. I just want them to look tarnished. So once they're all done, I'm going to add them there at the base of my photo. Now, like I said, they're pretty thick. They're pretty big letters, so I'm going to have to play around with getting them to fit. Also, they have adhesive on the back of them, but because this layout has so many different levels, I am going to apply additional glue to them so that they don't pull away from the layout. Um, since they're older, I'm not really sure how secure they'll stay. So these are the Prima romance novel canvas letters. I'm trying to decide if I want the pink or the black, and I settled on the black because there was so much black on the left side of the layout. I felt that I needed to pull some of that black into the right side of the layout to balance it out. So I'm going to put out the word sister. I love to use different size lettering in my titles. Then I decided that my birds needed a little bit of texture too, so I'm adding a little bit of that black to them as well, and then I'm going to brush over the top of them with that Pearl X, and it's going to give them this really nice pink tone. And again, I'm going to do it to both birds. So once my birds are all colored up, I've decided to come back with that fuzzy naval Lindy Stamp Gang and just spritz it around my floral spray and also spritz it on my papers. There were just too many colors and they were all competing with each other. And since everything has a really nice coat of gesso over the top, this spray is really going to grab and hold on to all of these elements. And again, I'm going to keep it very soft. What the trick is I'm going to spritz it on there pretty heavy. Um, Pounce it, allow it to drip, and then come back with a baby wipe and lift some of that color off. Remember that since I gessoed everything and since everything has a nice coating on it, it's going to allow me to lift that color before it has a chance to soak into the fibers of the paper. So we've essentially created a barrier over the top of that paper. Now I'm coming back with one of the Prima Shabby Chic Treasures metal bird cages. This is the one that has the three in the pack. They're smaller. And I've just added that there at the bottom of my floral spray. I thought that adding that resin piece just sort of helps to bring that to the foreground and send my other bird cages kind of backwards a little bit. And just to finish that off so it doesn't just look like it's placed, I've added a little bit more of the vine there. Now I've got a cup and I'm adding to it the Finnabar art ingredients, the glass glitter and sterling, and then also the glass beads and crystal. And I've mixed it up with a little bit of the Ranger crackle paste. I wasn't sure if the crackle paste would crackle when it got onto the layout or if it would just act like a glossy accents, and it really just acted like a glossy accents. But look at how it looks like it's been sprinkled with sugar. I just absolutely love it. The texture, it just kind of gave a really nice diamond feel to the floral sprays, and all I did was paint it into the negative spaces of the floral spray so it looks like it's dripping, almost like it's been a dew, uh, on flowers in the morning. And then I spritzed it underneath the photograph as well. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with me through this process video. If you have any questions, please feel free to give me a comment and I'll try and answer those. Also, if you enjoyed this production, please give me a thumbs up and leave me a comment. I will have a detailed product listing and more photos over on my blog. It's down in the description box below. There will be a link. So thanks again for hanging out with me today.